She's been reinstated as the chief whip of the party. And shame, one has to spare a thought for Des van Rooyen. Why does everybody choose him as the 24-hour special, as the weekend special? It's not right. Because yet again, he's put in a position, he was replacing Colleen Makubela now. He's been taken out less than 24 hours later. What is going on? I mean, can you imagine this kind of chaos at a provincial or national level? What is going on? All right, let's have the conversation. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
SAFM. Prime time all day long. We're not just building technology, we're building the future of South Africa. From cloud that grows with your business, to AI that empowers decisions, and IoT that connects people, places, and possibilities. Vodacom Business is here to help you lead with confidence. Visit www.vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business, further together.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actis-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This November, SAFM proudly presents the 3rd annual lecture.
And as the Freedom Charter says, no legitimate government could claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
SAFM invites you to our 3rd annual public lecture, delivered by Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser-Moleketi. The theme of the lecture is confronting inequality, corruption, and unemployment, rebuilding South Africa's social contract for inclusive and sustainable growth. The lecture will take place on the 27th of November 2025 at the Indaba Hotel, Spa and Conference Center in Fourways, Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at rsvp@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM. Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, I'm going to start the open line. Sintu, in Midrand, I'm starting with you deliberately because you are one of our listeners that openly defected from the ANC to join the MKP. What's going on in your party, Sintu? What's happening?
But if you have to really explain, it's a known fact. What are you trying to achieve?
No. I'm explaining it for the purposes of listeners that might not know, that may have forgotten that there's a context to whatever you're going to say. So let's hear from you, sir.
Thank you. By the way, you are correct. Firstly, let me also take this opportunity to congratulate my Vodacom chat for settling with Vodacom around this. Still with me, Cathy?
I am, Sintu.
Yes. Now, Cathy, I think when we were announcing this thing, it also the allegation behind a suspension of former trustee. So I think we should commend the NK for that is for capitation, and then wake up and make his own decision like more careful without consulting the command of the NK. must also remember that powers were given to the president. She should not be afraid of saying that. You see, each and every decision that has been taken administratively, I think the president should be aware of those decisions.
It must have
And then
it must have the consent of Ubaba.
exactly whatever you call it, that the president, you can call it the president.
Yeah, but
And
Sintu,
Colin Makumela,
I don't think that anybody is necessarily surprised by the fact that there are steps being taken. But it does seem that there are always steps being taken, right? And for
who have
whatever
been
reason,
consistent, who have been consistent, yes.
oh, you've been
Yeah, we have been
consistent with.
consistent. Yes, we have been consistent in taking those drastic measures. Super.
But Sintu, where is the
Yes.
stability? Where is the stability? Where is the sense that this party can be trusted with leading a nation?
No, what do you mean? You see, now we must allow indiscipline for the sake of stability. That simply means that if we govern one of the provinces or municipalities, and people will just do what it is to do. You see, it must start within the organization and try to make sure that we can still discipline within the organization. And people have got a problem of what is happening in the ANC people. You go to social media, they are the first people to comment around issues that are happening in
Yeah,
the
but
what is happening
Sintu,
what is happening in the Western Cape?
Sintu,
What is happening in the Western Cape?
Sintu, the fact that you have had all of these changes happen in 48 hours says that number one, there's a lack of centralized communication in the party or even decision making, right? And that is a cause for concern. There's nothing wrong with the party taking action against individuals, but there must be a flow to how things happen. It can't be that Cathy woke up in the morning and decided to do this. Tomorrow morning, when somebody found out that that's what I did, then they decide otherwise. And then by the time we get to Friday, how many changes would have been affected? No?
Yes, no, my dear sister, if SOP has decided to take that decision without the consultation of the president within those hours, I think the very same thing must happen. I understand the concern about the stability that is within that people are concerned about. But this thing needs to be dealt with. When it happens, you must be able to take decisions so that the party can move forward.
Okay.
Because you look at, ever since Colin Makumela has been the chief whip, there's been stability. People are doing well, even in these ad hoc committees. We have not even heard anything contrary to what the president has done in relation to those matters. But
Okay,
people
Sintu.
who've got a problem are ANC people. Thank you very much, my dear sister.
Let's leave it there. Sintu, as you can hear, still all the confidence in his organization. Sydney, you're in Acorn Hook. Good morning.
Good morning, dear. Yes,
How's the school library this morning?
yes, I'm feeling just fine. I've just entered my driver and then I came to when I of course, power and time are in. We our library for this for all people. Yes, Katie.
So what do
I
you want
want
to
to
talk
tell
about this morning, Sydney?
yes, I want my uh, yeah. I want to tell him dress code tells a message. Even a primary school child can understand what that are. Where when white dress first and really a value, no, you this one. Even if you don't understand the person, but you read Galia. Don't understand that one. This one arrest a criminal. That's all. That's close. Who can wear a militant clothes? No. This individual is very why on that day what the message communicate. You are communicating. I now fight corruption. People that yes, they didn't like the way you dress. Mukwarazin should have dressed a wedding suit on that day or civilian clothes on that day. You wore a military regalia to show that I'm fighting the invisible.
Yeah,
The
but
cartel
but
is not
but
destroying our
Sydney,
country.
Sydney,
Yes, madam.
it is undeniable that that image evokes something. If
Yes,
you have ever seen a coup d'etat happening in some countries on the continent, I wouldn't even go far, just on the continent,
yes, yes.
that is how it has often been presented, right? And I think that what Minister Feroz Kachalia was saying, that when he saw the imagery, he was triggered to think about what it has looked like when other countries were undergoing a coup. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that feedback. I don't think there's anything wrong with that criticism, because it doesn't take away from the veracity or even the strength of the allegations that he was making. We're allowed to disagree on whether it was the most appropriate thing he could do away. He could have just worn his other normal blue uniform. But the fact that despite choosing those military fatigues, that it triggered something, the imagination, not only of Minister Kachalia, but of many other South Africans. That is the effect of part of what happened that morning.
It triggered imagination. Now I can tell. It actually now conduct coup d'etat at the same assistance against criminal cartel. He's now overthrowing them and they are being overthrown.
I
We are
love it,
hearing that
Sydney.
we are now hearing that because he is overthrowing them. We is now overthrowing them. And let's be on the side of Allah. He's not an angel alone. He's
He-
a leader. He's the Kuta, bringing down criminals. Thank you very
Sydney, he should hire you as part of his PR machinery.
much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Kuta,
Sydney. A coup d'etat against corruption. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I think let's take some of your WhatsApp voice note. It'll lead us to the 9:30 news headlines, and then I'm back with the National Roundtable. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial on the WhatsApp voice note line. 0614 104 107.
Listen properly. What's up with Mr. Van Rooyen now? Oh, Mr. Van Rooyen. Mr. Van Rooyen. Listen properly. Mr. Zuma and his controversies. Asibangene baba. We are from Mthatha. Yo.
Cathy. Morning, Cathy, and SAFM listeners and the crew there behind you. Cathy, this team of MK, it reminds me of a team in our PSL league. It's Chippa United, I think. Pengesi is the owner. You don't last there. You don't finish your term. He's been chopping and changing coaches, if you'll remember clearly. MK is the same. Zuma doesn't play. It's Robert KZN Mutu, thanks.
Good morning. Making headlines. The Randburg Magistrates Court in the north of Johannesburg is expected to deliver judgment today in the matter of the 8 former members of Deputy President Paul Mashatile's VIP protection unit. The head of the Independent Directorate Against Corruption, IDAC, Advocate Andrea Johnson, will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. And finally, President Cyril Ramaphosa has ordered an investigation into the circumstances that led to the recruitment of 17 young men into what appears to be mercenary activities in the war in Ukraine. I will have details on these and other stories at 10 o'clock.
The Dogs of War are ready to fight for 90 minutes to grab 3 vital points in front of their home fans.
Ajay with the cutback. It's Jeffries.
However, the Cottagers want to add extra efforts to triumph and find a way out of the bottom half.
It's a great finish.
This is the Premier League. Catch Everton FC versus Fulham FC on Saturday, 8 November at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game. Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one, get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Specs, and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
SAFM Music. Good times, good memories.
Just like somebody inspired.
Old school, sounding so good. SAFM Music with you wherever you go. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You know, I'm not going to. We have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the G's anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told him I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there.
All right. Let's continue then with some of your voice notes.
Cathy Mohlahlana, Songabe Hermanas. Yo, what is happening at MK? It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. But anyway, it was expected. Wherever there is Jacob Zuma, there is always a chaos. Wherever there is Jacob Zuma, there's been always a chaos. I feel sorry, Shem, for Dennis Van Rooyen. I feel sorry for him. For Judge Thorpe, for former Judge President Thorpe, it's good for him because what goes around comes around. But I also agree with those people that are saying in 5 years' time, there will be no MK. There will be no MK. They must start looking another position. They must start looking positions from other parties. Otherwise, that it's a chaos. Who's going to discipline Jacob Zuma when he's out of line? Because it seems that he's the alpha and omega in that organization. And goes.
Morning, Cathy. This is Mike from Durban. Hey, Cathy, eyes yakhala, lago MK, eyes yakhala. I told people that this party is a Mickey Mouse party. It's a Mickey Mouse party. These guys, they must just leave politics and go and play with their grandchildren at home and to stop wasting people's time, man. They are wasting people's time. They must just leave politics. It is a Mickey Mouse party.
All right, those are just some of the WhatsApp voice notes you're sending through this hour. I'm taking your calls on the National Roundtable. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. Let me go to Flagstaff in the Eastern Cape. Sitembele, good morning.
Morning, Jeffrey.
Yes, sir.
Just fine, Brian. I think you are 100% when you say 100% correct when you say the weekend fish. I think I wonder what is in the mind of that man today when he hears that he has also been put on the very same that he was also removed some years ago. Fast forward, you see, in that participation, it shows level of incompetence that one has in our government. Because the majority of the party leaders are the people that were in government. So those are the people that do not want to do things the right way. Want to always state and do things way Jacob Zuma see, you know. So I wonder honestly speaking, what Africans think when they see all those things that are happening in this organization? Hello.
Yeah, look, Sitembele, it's really just to have that sense that things are not just happening on the fly, right? That there's thinking, there's process. Um, r- every organization is going to have people that need to be disciplined for one reason or the other, but it can't seem to shake the organization in the way that some of the disciplinary proceedings that are brought against leaders does in the MK party. There's just a way in which it's done that seems to take away from the party.
Mm. And again, Kathy, there's a caller who said, I'm not sure whether it's a caller or but there's somebody who said, um, it was correct. Just, was impeached in Parliament. The person is a dictator that is very, you know, hidden because he doesn't show his colors. He can just, do whatever that he like. Because he waited for Jacob Zuma to leave the country and to fight and do whatever that he thought was going to be okay for. But at the end of the day, we all know that he's very incompetent. He's very incompetent. I don't care how, I mean, that his level of education, but he's a dictator as well in that
Yeah.
organization.
And that's the thing, right? Is that you seemingly have this tension between leaders, but it shouldn't shake the party up to the extent that it does, right? How is it that he waits for Zuma to leave and then makes all of these wholesale changes, and those changes are effected, just like that. They effected. What's the process? What are the structures? Surely somebody can't just wake up and unilaterally make decisions, and they're able to actually do that.
Quite a drastic decision, Kathy, to be taken without knowledge of the president of the organization. It's, I know that each and everybody will have, in each and every organization will execute his or her, or will do his or her thing. But it's a drastic decision to just, remove a parliamentary leader without the knowledge of the,
Okay. Okay,
so that's
Sitembele,
my take. Thanks.
let's leave it there. I think my point is that, but how did it happen? We are the other leaders in the party. What was their say? What was their contribution? Anonymous, you're in KZN. Good morning.
To Kathy and the listeners. Hello, Kathy.
Yes, Anonymous.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I'm very much worried, Kathy, with this excitement when it comes to the MK party dealing with the issues of disciplining our members' power. Okay, I understand that people will say that people do not take uh, responsibilities of their actions. When the MK party is there, then people are consistent with disciplining the members. It becomes to a point where they say, we are not sure how they going to run the province. We don't need someone who will control the province as if they are not following any orders. If the MKC deals with its members and people must do things correct, then what is the excitement? Members? Why do we need people up there dealing with the province? Why do we need power even if they are doing wrong? Why are we looking at this thing as another how we put it, but we are putting it as if the MK party is wrong. We're only looking at the wrong that is the MK party. I understand that people are saying it is wrong. So we need a political people that will do as or leaders of a political party that will do as they please in this country.
Anonymous, I don't know if the reflection is one that says that an MK party is not needed, but it's one that speaks to how is the party organized, the leadership structures within the party, how solid are they? I mean, do you not see what is happening as raising questions around the stability of the organization?
Within an organization.
Are you unmoved by it? Are you unbothered by the fact that there are such significant unilateral changes that, by the way, highlight and point at a leadership crisis at the highest level in the organization?
See, Cathy, let us be honest. Let us be honest with our country. Our country does not need leaders who will do it. That's let us not look at.
But it looks like the leaders in the MK party do as they please, which is why we're here. John Tlhophe did as he pleased when the president of the party was out of the country. And thus the effect of removing Colleen Makubela. When Jacob Zuma came back to the country, he did as he pleased and, basically rescinded all of those decisions that Tlhophe had made. These are leaders that are all doing as they please.
Cathy, now you are not giving me a chance to speak.
Okay, sorry, Anonymous.
You are trying to cover
No, it's
whatever the media that is pushing.
it's okay.
Let me be honest with you. The country does not need leaders who will do as they please. If the MP party is dealing with that type of behavior, why are we blaming the MP party? When must they take action? Do we need them to wait for a year so that they can take action if something is wrong now? No. Let us be honest. We can't play politics when it comes to leading people. We need people who will be disciplined, who will know what they must do, how they must do it. If the MK party says this is wrong, and they take action against the person, why is the media and the people of countries excited? That's my concern. We do not need people who will do as they please. If the party is showing us that it is discipline no matter the position. You can be the premier, you can be the president. If you are not doing what the party says you must do, and the people of the country say you must do, then they will discipline you. And is it a problem? That is my question.
Okay, Anonymous. Anonymous out in KZN. Sis Vuiswa, you're in Parktown North. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I want to express my disappointment with Comrade Cecilia. I think his approach was very, very much unfair for Unhlanhla, because we wouldn't have known, if there was nobody like Unhlanhla kind of this bravery to bail the case. People talk and talk, but who is prepared to bail the case? So he was there to try and have his own. That makes sense. For me, it didn't make sense, because why? What the clip? It started off by taking some credit. And second, there's a word that we use. I hate that word. When people say we have to move on. Move on how? Like we are told as victims of apartheid, if we speak to those who are comfortable, those who have not experienced what we've experienced by losing our family members, our parents, which are not accounted for. You hear some people say we move on. Move on to where? He used the word move on. Instead of saying as a leader, this is a phase, I think a phase that we needed to go through and correct what is wrong. Because here what we need is to correct the wrong that has happened. And thanks to people like Abunhlanhla and all the generals, all the team, they're amazing people, that can feel. We are checked every day by criminals. We have lost a lot of criminals. We are under trauma.
Did it come across to you as an attack on Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi rather than a reflection on how things played out? And I remember the Deputy Minister in Police, Castle Matale, also sort of being prompted to give his reflections on what happened and how Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi had approached the matter. And if I recall correctly, he in fact said that he believed that it should not even have gotten to that point, that given a different set of circumstances, how that briefing happened should not have happened. But because he wasn't given an audience, it led to that.
They will never give you an audience if you're fighting for rights. All the people that are rejoicing and having all these yes, comfortable. We're not comfortable in this country. We have not reached the freedom that we fought for. You know, we thought about freedom. Now we are being pushed about this democracy that people don't know what they're talking about. And lastly, I would like to say the Sudanese situation. If we don't stand up as a continent, I mean, you know, those incidents that are happening there, it's already genocide.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's a genocide, and we are quiet. We're talking this and this. We're trying for Trump to come here to do what in saying May instead of solving that thing. Because there's the people causing the problem in Sudan, them and the Arabs, and we must stand up and condemn what is evil.
Yeah, voice.
That's exactly what happened in Tanzania. You know, I'm so sick. Even to me as a room, and you have people like Nambu Namponya and sister. Yes, it's our sister organization. Some of us grew up in this country, but we don't like what is happening in Tanzania right now, especially coming from a woman.
Yeah, Voiswa, let's leave it there. And you're right, those reports out of Sudan are absolutely frightening. They're just chilling when you hear what has been happening and the mass killings that have been taking place. Kabela, you're in Flagstaff. Good morning.
Hello, Suskeze.
I won't ask how you ended up with a name like Tobela all the way in Flagstaff.
Yeah, it's Tobela.
Oh, it's Tobela. It's not
Yeah.
Sepedi. It's
Yeah.
Xhosa.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for that correction. Thank you. Yes, sir.
You know what? When I turn to TV channels, each and every time they growing the economy, trading, then come to SABC channels and it's corruption every time plays these political predators. You know, all of them. MPN, EFF. You know what? This will just become a pain in the face. And each and every time in your head, change. Scammers, corruption, you know. Hey man, why are these people taking us? You know, real indeed, we are in a they are all the same. Led by the ANC and MP, EA, all of them. You know, China, we talk trade, economy, scaling of the nation. You know, Thanksgiving. Don't want to be wrong.
All right. Thanks for that, Tobela. Tsukolo, good morning. Oh, actually, Tsukolo, apologies. Let me just pause there before I bring you online. Let me take this break and then we're back with more of your calls.
So, you just switched to a different brand of kitchen appliances and you're still preparing healthy food and drinks, preserving nutrients and using less fat while saving time. Of course you are, because you made a clever switch to Click Smart Life by Cambrook. Kitchen appliances designed for a healthier lifestyle with Click's trusted quality and great value. When you switch, it just clicks. Switch and save only at Clicks.
Ish, at school I was falling behind. They thought I wasn't trying, bruh. Truth is, I couldn't see well, and I felt as small as the words on the board. And then, teacher came to sit with me and realized I needed glasses. Bruh, now everything's changed.
Take time to listen. With enough love and support, children don't just catch up, they thrive.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Together, we can change their future.
SAFM 104 to 107. Nationwide. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. We're still taking your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Sokolo in Harrismith, good morning again.
How's Katie?
Yes, sir.
Good, and how are you?
I'm doing well. Go for it.
Okay, no thanks. Yeah, Katie, I heard yesterday there was foreigner, undocumented foreigner who ran away from the capital
Mm. Mm.
So, people used to say we are in the pandemic. So I don't know why these people they think right, because I think they must be happy about this foreigner because we always complaining about the foreigners who are not respecting our country. Look what they did. They just that shows they can't respect our country and they now doing whatever they want. So this is a shame. This is a shame. I don't know where was the policy. I don't know where was the policy if these people they just run away instead of they wait for their fine. You see, it's amazing this thing because KZN policies, you find that they are busy people who are doing nothing, but people who are doing crime they can't do anything about it. There is a lot of complaints with who driving trucks in KZN. There is a lot of people who stealing people from the truck, but the police they do nothing on it. There is a people who driving who just getting when they are finished to do their job. But you find that the police they are busy chasing them away. Those people they are doing nothing. They just sleeping there just to relax. The police they chasing them away. But people who are stealing, they can't do them. They can't do. They do nothing to them. I'm surprised to hear that there is some foreigner who run away from This is a shame.
Okay. All right, Sokolo. Yeah, and as I always say, it's not even solely a case of non-nationals taking advantage or committing crimes. It's that what is the state of lawlessness in our country that allows criminals, whether South African or foreign national, to do what they do and to get away with it? Because if the system worked, these things should not be happening. Criminals should not be able to do what they are doing in our country right now. JB, you're in Kuruman. Good morning.
Thank you, Sis Katie. Yeah. Yesterday, I was watching that television, the Donovan Fletcher and the police that were sent, that 5 policemen that were sent to Donovan Fletcher.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If I check Paul O'Sullivan and Mr. Sibiya, it's General Sibiya, I can see all those policemen, they were not listening to the command of Mr. Sibiya. That is why Mr. Paul O'Sullivan was listening to those 2 policemen. Because they could have been corrupt, but they were not listening to the command of the official. Yeah, even Mr. Who's the general of the police that were Mr. I forget his name. Yeah, he was not listening to them. That is why they were. This was a type of war, or for of selling drugs and all this and doing that shenanigans. Yeah. So Paul O'Sullivan, I trusted him, but for now, out because of what now to
Yeah.
So
You're losing confidence and trust in him, JB.
yeah.
Look, he's always been a controversial figure, if we're being honest, right? He's been a controversial figure within the security apparatus for a long time. I certainly am waiting for more and more information to be revealed so that a clearer picture can emerge of what exactly has been going on. In fact, as we speak, I'm watching on SABC 404, SABC News, where it's the head of crime intelligence, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, and 5 others who are before the courts this morning on charges of fraud and corruption, amongst other charges. And yeah, I think one can see them standing alongside each other. Clearly, a lot of solidarity, but also the stakes have changed quite significantly since the first time they were in court on this matter. And so, yeah, I think they would have been buoyed by the support that has been extended in as far as the revelations that have come out at the Commission of Inquiry, the Madanga Commission, and also the ad hoc committee. Duma, you're in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Cathy, I know you well. I know you well. I just want to comment on this issue of MKP
Yes.
taking its decision of suspending the open. I think the country, we as a country, we are so used to the president having acts when it's supposed to, like Mr. Ramaphosa does. The MKP did the right thing suspending that guy, Mr. Sope. He was being bullied. He was being bullied, and he acted out of the policy of the MKP. So there's nothing wrong about it. Instead, right, are usually rejoicing about what's happening. MKP is doing the right thing. Telling somebody who's doing something wrong is a good. It's something that we need to do all the time. And Zuma, we know that President Zuma has been ever since he knew him.
Duma, so I would want to turn the attention slightly from the fact that there is action that was taken against John Tlhophe for these actions that he undertook. My question, though, is around process within the party itself. How does a deputy president make such big decisions and is able to effect those decisions if, in fact, it is not a representation of what the party's thinking is at a particular point in time? So how does that happen?
It goes back to the point that I said he was being bullied. He was bullying the subordinate. That's what I'm saying. That's what I see. So he's being punished for doing that because he acted out of the law of the organization. So I honestly think, and I believe it's what they've been doing since forever. You understand? Even while Zuma was in the ANC, he was so consistent with that. So I disagree with the fact that they are going to, they are a Mickey Mouse party, like people are saying. I think people are getting it wrong. But they are so used to the fact that nothing is being done in this country if you do something wrong.
Okay.
As much as we can see what's happening around right now in the police, it's the same thing that's happening. One person is doing something, and then they blame him for the regalia for what they're losing sight on the mere fact that he's acting on what he's complaining about. You see, focusing on the regalia. I'm just making an example.
Okay.
So we're so used to the being complacent, or maybe waiting for someone to act. You see, yeah, but MK Party did well.
Okay, Duma, I hear you. Duma out in Johannesburg. It's 10 o'clock at time for your latest news.
Top stories this hour. Cape Town police clamp down on gang activities and President Ramaphosa orders investigation into the recruitment of citizens in the Ukraine war. Good morning. I'm Jolani Tulo Wepe. Police have arrested 26 suspects in parts of Cape Town as they clamp down on gang activities. Spokesperson Amanda van Wyk says the arrests were made in areas including Manenberg, Elsie's River, Kensington and Delft. She says the suspects face charges ranging from possession of unlicensed firearms and drugs to hijacking and discharging of firearms in public. Van Wyk says investigators are working to link the suspects and seized weapons to other serious crimes.
Majority of these suspects are known gang members and arrested for crimes that include possession of unlicensed firearm and ammunition, possession of a hijacked vehicle, theft out of a motor vehicle, discharging of a firearm in a municipal area, possession of and dealing in drugs. Amongst those arrested is a wanted individual who had escaped from lawful custody earlier last month. The team operationalized the information which led them to the location of the escapee, resulting in his rearrest in Lentegeur. The suspect was initially arrested for a gang-related murder.
The Randburg Magistrates Court in the north of Johannesburg is expected to deliver judgment today in the matter of the 8 former members of Deputy President Paul Mashatile's VIP Protection Unit. They brought an application to have charges against them dropped. The officers are all currently out on 10,000 Rand bail each. In July 2023, a video emerged showing police officers allegedly assaulting occupants of a vehicle on the N1 highway. Sashan Naidu reports.
The VIP protection officers were captured on video in July 2023, brandishing rifles and assaulting the trainee soldiers who were occupants of a VW Polo on the N1 highway in Johannesburg. The victims alleged that the accused aggressively forced them to the side of the highway before breaking their car window and assaulting them whilst brandishing their firearms. All the accused face several charges, including assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, reckless and negligent driving, malicious damage to property, and the obstruction of justice. Sasha Naidu, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The trial of 8 gang members accused of robbing the Malamlele police station of firearms is expected to resume in the High Court in Polokwane in Limpopo this morning. The accused stole several firearms at the police station and targeted other businesses in November 4 years ago. They face 94 charges, including murder, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit robbery, and multiple counts of robbery, amongst others. They are alleged to have used the stolen firearms to carry out a crime spree across Limpopo and Mpumalanga. There were initially 10 accused. One of them, Gordon Mukutu, died in custody last month, while charges against another accused, Leslie Lishabani, were withdrawn. Butibi Maluleke reports.
The trial was adjourned on Monday after one of the accused, Tebogo Ramalatso, fell in and collapsed in court. Judge Jean Goweni postponed the matter to afford the accused Ramalatso time to heal. The accused Fokis Mabunda, Tsepo Masha, Desmond Phahla, Lucas Mahabani, Nicholas Manzini, Tsepiso Matemana, Tebogo Ramalatso and Silo Sedi allegedly carried out strings of crimes across several areas. They were arrested in January 2022 and found in alleged possession of multiple firearms and ammunition linked to some of the reported cases in those areas. Ambuti Maluleke, SABC News, Polokwane.
The head of the Independent Directorate Against Corruption IDAC, Advocate Andrea Johnson, will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. The committee was established after KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. Among others, Mkhwanazi alleged that there are rogue elements within IDAC. The head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Kumalo, was arrested by IDAC, allegedly over an unlawful appointment. Mkhwanazi alleges that the arrest was to thwart an investigation in Gauteng. President Cyril Ramaphosa has ordered an investigation into the circumstances that led to the recruitment of 17 young men into what appears to be mercenary activities in the war in Ukraine. The government says it has received distress calls for assistance to return home from 17 South African men between the ages of 20 and 39 who were trapped in the war-torn Donbas region of Ukraine. Marisa Whitehead reports.
Government says 16 men are from KwaZulu-Natal and one is from the Eastern Cape. They were apparently lured to join mercenary forces involved in the Ukraine-Russia war under the pretext of lucrative employment contracts. Under the Foreign Military Assistance Act, it is illegal for South Africans and entities to offer or provide military assistance to foreign governments or participate in armies of foreign governments unless authorized by the South African government. Government says it's working through diplomatic channels to secure the return of the young men following their calls for assistance. Government has condemned the exploitation of young vulnerable people by individuals working with foreign military entities. Marisa Whitehead, SABC News.
Recapping the top story this hour, police have arrested 26 suspects in parts of Cape Town as they clamp down on gang activities. For SFM News, I'm Cholani Tulo Wepe.
The Natal Rich Boys have a big task to spoil the Buccaneers' day, but the black and white gents from Orlando are adamant that they will march to the final. This is the Carling Knockout semi-final. Catch Richards Bay versus Orlando Pirates this Saturday, 8 November at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 3 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
This November, SAFM proudly presents the 3rd annual lecture.
And as the Freedom Charter says, no legitimate government could claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
SAFM invites you to our 3rd annual public lecture, delivered by Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser-Moleketi. The theme of the lecture is Confronting Inequality, Corruption and Unemployment, Rebuilding South Africa's Social Contract for Inclusive and Sustainable Growth. The lecture will take place on the 27th of November 2025 at the Indaba Hotel, Spa and Conference Center in Four Ways, Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at rsvp@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM music, crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good, only on SAFM.
Doing the right thing just got more rewarding. From the 1st of November to the 31st of December, when you pay your SABC TV license, we'll say thank you with a 50 Rand grocery voucher and more. It's our way of celebrating you for helping us to keep local stories and talent alive. Pay, wait for your SMS, and follow the instructions to claim your reward. Make sure your contact details are up to date so we can send your prize straight to you. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, let's take you straight to the SAPS Ad Hoc Committee in Parliament. This is where the IDEC head, Advocate Andrea Johnson, is giving evidence this morning.
Tsietsi Ramatsekisa.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to let you know that Council Ramatsekisa was my lecturer in the University of Fort Hare. He was lecturing me the law of evidence, a module.
So you want to tell us that you are the evidence of his work?
No, Chair, he's telling you that he's implicated, so he must be out.
Okay. Honorable Pambo, good morning. Thank you so much. The staff of Parliament, we greet you, and the support staff of all political parties. Good morning to all of you. We are going to commence with today's proceedings. Our witness today is Ms. Johnson from IDEC. The senior counsel will come and confirm that the person appearing before us is appropriate. Let me go to the next item and give you apologies. The apology that we have today is the apology of the Chief Whip, Honorable Ntuli, who is still unable to join us due to commitments in Parliament. Honorable Vessels, we have said that he was going to be away for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks period has not expired. For sure, it will be expiring tomorrow. We hope to have his return next week. Can I check with you, honorable members, if there is any amongst you who wants to register apologies? Honorable Kusela.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Ngola is going to be joining us later.
Later.
Thank you.
Do we have apology from Honorable Sols? Okay, let's hope he will join the proceedings later. SC, may you please confirm that the person appearing before us is the person that you and us expected to be here today.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, Ms. Johnson, everyone in the room, colleagues. Yeah, I can confirm, Honorable Chair, that that is indeed Ms. Advocate Anthea Johnson, the head of IDEC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SC. Let me move to the next item, which is the administration of oath on our witness. Good morning once again, Ms. Johnson. Before I administer oath, allow me to read the following to you. That you have been invited to appear before this ad hoc committee, which investigate allegations made by Lieutenant General Ntantla Mkhwanazi, and that you have been invited to provide information in relation to the committee's oversight work. The committee is investigating, amongst others, alleged unlawful disbursement of the political killings task team, otherwise known as the PKTT or the NPKTT, and further, the alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, and alleged corrupt relationships between senior leadership within SAPS and members of the public, as well as political interference in the work of the SAPS. In extending this invitation, the ad hoc committee chairperson has indicated that you may provide such information to the committee if you so wish under oath in terms of the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act 2004. Please be informed that by law you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or even damages. Ms. Johnson, you are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or Committee of Parliament may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or document required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17(2) of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or Committee of Parliament with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offense and is liable to a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful, and so you may elect whether you take oath or affirmation.
Honorable Chair, I'll take the oath.
So thank you so much. You have decided or elected to take oath. I will read and you will follow me. You will start by saying I and you state your full names.
I, Andrea Johnson,
Swear that the evidence I shall give
swear that the evidence that I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
And so help me God.
And so help me God.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to you, SC, and I now allocate you between now and 13 hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I will, as usual, try my level best to conclude by 1300 hours. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, Advocate Johnson, for your appearance today and also for your cooperation, your full cooperation and that of your team, both at the NPA and your council. On a lighter note, your senior counsel, the last time I encountered him was in a boxing matter. In a boxing matter when he was acting for the boxing promoters and I was acting for the previous Minister of Sport. So I hope it's not a scene set to some kind of a sparring that we're going to engage in today. Advocate Johnson, you are the head of the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption. We will refer to it as IDEC throughout the day, or those questions will be asked of you as head of IDEC, and you were appointed by the President as the head of IDEC on the 1st of March in terms of the National Prosecuting Authority Act. There was an amendment subsequent to your appointment, amendment to the IDEC Act in relation to its independence. Just briefly tell us about that.
Chair, thank you. I was appointed on the 1st of March 2022. At the time, it was not called the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption. It was called the Investigating Directorate, having been created in terms of a proclamation in April of 2019. Fast forward to 2024, and through a parliamentary process, the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Act 10 of 2024 was passed. It therefore created IDEC, Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, as a permanent entity, which came into effect then on the 19th of August 2024.
Thank you. Now, the events of 6 July 2025, now well known, when Lieutenant General Kunazi had a media briefing. You obviously by now know about that, and that's given rise to the appointment of the ad hoc committee by Parliament, the National Assembly, to inquire into a number of allegations that he made. We are hoping that during the course of your testimony you can assist us on at least 3 aspects of the terms of reference of this committee. The one I know we briefly touched on it, but the 121 case dockets, there was some interaction on that aspect. But more pointedly, paragraph 4.1.12 of the terms of reference, which relates to prosecutorial conduct and the relationship between IDAC and the PKTT, that's the Political Killings Task Team, including whether IDAC or any of its officials unlawfully interfered in police investigations or exceeded its mandate. And then item 4.1.18, which is to scrutinize the interagency coordination among SEPs, crime intelligence, IDAC / the NPA, correctional services, Metro Police, and the legal basis for the directives affecting the PKTT, which is a latter part of that terms of reference. So, but before we get into those specifics, perhaps just talk to us about your experience, your academic qualifications, your appointment as an advocate of the High Court of South Africa, and then your subsequent involvement within the criminal justice system, your initial experiences as a prosecutor, as a district prosecutor, and then your elevation subsequently to a senior state prosecutor, state advocate within the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Thank you, Chair. I do, in terms of the academic qualifications, hold a B.Juris degree and an LLB degree. I would hope that no one wants to know when I got those. They are extremely old. But in 2007, I also attempted and completed in that year a diploma in criminal justice and forensic auditing at the University of Johannesburg. It was part-time. I have various short courses that you complete during the course and scope of your employment, from project management, coaching and mentoring, money laundering, corruption, all of the relevant courses to enable you to do your work, Chair. I started prosecuting on the 1st of June 1996 at the Magistrates Court in Alberton. I was then moved to the Regional Court in Germiston early in 1998. But in the Magistrates Court, we did the usual matters that are still done, from assault. Unfortunately, back in the day, I also had to do traffic matters. I also had to deal with maintenance issues. And got in between spouses and or partners about whose rights it were to pay for the upkeep of their children. But it was as basic as that. I was in the regional court for a very short time, where more serious offenses from cash in transit heists, business robberies, murders, and so on were done. And on the 1st of June 1998, Chair, I started as a state advocate at the then Attorney General's office in Johannesburg under then Attorney General De Vries. The National Prosecuting Authority came into being in 1998. And in December of 99, I was then promoted to Senior State Advocate and joined the Directorate Special Operations, colloquially called the Scorpions. I was there till the doors closed.
Who was the head of the Scorpions then?
At the time, in terms of the region, it was Advocate Gerrie Nel, and the Deputy National Director in charge was Advocate Leonard McCarthy. But I reported directly to Advocate Gerrie Nel as head of office. I remained there till the doors closed 6 July 2009. However, in that time, on the 1st of April 2004, I became a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. And around about April or May of 2006, I became a Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions which position I held up until the 28th of February 2022. And I then became the investigating director on the 1st of March 2022. In that time, I held various portfolios as a deputy director, overseeing prosecutions and investigations in the DSO. I was also at the DPP office and fell under what was called the organized crime component, where we dealt with organized crime matters. And from February 2019 till the end of February 2022, I was the National Coordinator Organized Crime at the NPA's head office.
Just the period when you were with the DSO, as you say, colloquially referred to as the Scorpions. Just discuss with us some of your experiences there and perhaps some of the more prominent matters or cases you became involved in as a prosecutor.
Honorable Chair and members, when the DSO started initially, it started with organized crime matters. And I think during the course of late 2003, what was then called ITSIO, which was the Investigating Directorate Serious Economic Offences, also came over to the DSO. So the DSO then ended up doing what the Hawks now do: serious organized crime, serious complex, serious commercial crime, serious corruption matters. And that became the ambit of the work that the DSO did. I was mainly involved in organized crime matters, but later on became involved in the serious corruption matters that were done at the DSO. There, much like what IDAC operates now, we had deputy directors who would lead a team, and the team would be comprised of advocates of various rankings, as well as criminal investigators. And we would form a team that would then deal with the matters that were allocated to us. I myself dealt with various matters, not just the corruption matters, but when it came to one of the more prominent matters, one of the matters that I dealt with together with Advocate Herinel was the investigation and prosecution of corruption allegations against the late Jackie Celebi, who at the time was the National Police Commissioner and the first African head of Interpol. And we saw that matter through to its finality. But in that time, Chair, the DSO was disbanded. And so in July 2009, as with most advocates, we were given an opportunity to choose which Director of Public Prosecution's office you would like to work in. Advocate Nell and I, who are Pretoria-based, chose the office of the DPP Pretoria, also because in October of that year, the matter for trial in the Celebi matter had been set down. And so practically it made sense that we would be in our home base and would be able to deal with the prosecution. And that prosecution was then finalized as it was with the guilty verdict being passed against the late Mr. Celebi, together with a term of imprisonment of 15 years. I've dealt over the years with other matters, and I wasn't married only to the corruption matters. We also dealt with some of the murder matters, conspiracies to commit murder, one of those being the matter of athlete Oscar Pistorius. Advocate Nell finished off or chose to leave the National Prosecuting Authority before that matter went back on appeal, and I finalized that matter, and we dealt with various matters over the years. So my experience in terms of matters was mainly organized crime and then into the corruption field.
Have you always been based in Pretoria? You were born in KZN, is it?
That is correct, Chair. My first prosecuting stint on the 1st of June 1996 was at the Magistrates Court in Alberton. For purposes of correctness of the record, I did prosecute on a contract basis in Scottburgh in November, December 95 and January of 96, and then the contract finished. And then I applied to the then Department of Justice and waited for a position, which then became Alberton on the East Rand. I hadn't, other than those 2 or 3 months, prosecuted anywhere in KZN.
Just talk to us briefly about your formative years growing up in KZN.
Honorable Chair, I grew up in rural KZN. It's unfortunate that much of what I experienced then, some of our people still do experience now, which is the lack of running water and ablution facilities. That was the story of the growing up, walking to school at great distances on our rural roads. And there was a time when, fortunately, we were then able to catch a bus and travel great distance to school and back. My only friends at the time, and more so because my late dad was a policeman in the apartheid era, us as black families were not allowed to be involved in politics, so there was no talk of politics. I had absolutely no political knowledge. I was not politically savvy at all, but we knew that as black people we stayed together. So we were the only Indian family in that area, and then we had 3 African families, the Shomayos, Kiliza, the Keles, and those were our best friends. So I grew up playing with my friends, waited for one another when we came from school. I had a favorite meal at the time, which Mam Kiliza used to make, which was samp. I think called them nusho more now. The kids there had favorite meals at our home. We all also, unfortunately, had to walk to a communal area at the police station to collect water. And so myself and my friends would, with our tubs and buckets, get to the communal area, carry buckets and tubs of water on our heads, walk back down, full up. So I had a very humble rural upbringing. And those were my friends. That is how we grew up. Unfortunately, though, when we went to school, we went to different schools. But after hours, after school, on weekends, that was us, that was family. And that is how we socialized, and that is really my upbringing.
And you also became fluent in isiZulu?
Yes, I did. And if you would allow me, Chair, I taught myself to read. And the one thing I had to read, everywhere I went, I saw a sign. And the sign said, Abahamba kulendlela bayoboshwa. And I needed to know what that meant, because coming or being brought up in rural KZN, there were many farmers. And as we walked those paths from school, that was a very prominent sign. I also had to learn Afrikaans because there was this thing with the dog that said, pas op vir die honde. So that was my first self-taught Zulu speaking and reading. But I'm fluent in Zulu because part of the respect was we taught, myself and my siblings taught my friends English. They taught us isiZulu, and that is how I grew up. Also had to learn Afrikaans, of course, because given what it was at the time, our schools were bilingual, and we had to know English and Afrikaans, because if you failed Afrikaans, you also failed the entire exam. Not just if you failed English, you failed the exam.
Yeah, I think that was the issue that gave rise to, or one of the issues was the language issue, the compulsory Afrikaans that you had to do, even as a black person. Anyway, so that was a political education, I suppose, on its own. But just fast forward, so you obviously had to move to the urban areas, go to high school or senior secondary school, go to university, and gain those degrees that you
correct. Not as urban. I don't know if you call a little one street village an urban area, but yes, I was able to go to high school in a different area, and I then attended the University of Durban Westville as it was at the time for both my qualifications.
Thank you, Advocate Johnson. Now, just to go to IDEC more specifically, first established in 2019, and I think, as you pointed out, was created or established by a presidential proclamation, and that arose really from the findings and the recommendations of the Zondo Commission.
Correct, Chair. The commission had commenced in 2018, and so that gave rise to the birth of the investigating directorate at the time.
And when it was still known as the investigating directorate, that was headed by Advocate Herman Cronje at the time.
Correct, Chair, up until I took office on the 1st of March 2022.
So subsequent to 2019, your appointment in 2022, and the amendment to the NPA Act, the mandate changed. So just tell us briefly about that. The initial mandate of the investigating directorate and the mandate now of IDEC.
So the initial mandate of the investigating directorate dealt mainly with the commissions of inquiry to Witham Party Commission that looked into irregularities to the PIC, the Nugent Commission of Inquiry looking into alleged irregularities within the South African Revenue Service, and then the State Capture Commission, colloquially the Zondo Commission. In terms of IDEC, the mandate seeks to also then deal with serious and high-profile corruption matters, also over and beyond the statutory offences one is allowed to look at, POCTATARA, PRECA, PFMA, MFMA, POCA contraventions, and then the common law contraventions, fraud, theft, forgery, uttering, and offences that in the main relate to dishonesty, Chair.
And subsequently, the mandate broadened to corruption more generally.
That is correct.
And would you be dealing with more complex cases of corruption?
That is correct, Chair. We are expected to deal with the more complex corruption matters, but that also brings with it, if I may add, in terms of the POCA, which is the Prevention Organized Crime Act, there are also our money laundering obligations, and so IDEC played a very prominent role in ensuring complex investigations, also of money laundering towards the FATF and towards us dealing with the grey listing issues.
Do you only act on matters referred to you, IDEC, or do you have some authority or powers to, as it were, that Latin phrase, mero moto, on your own? Do you take on corruption matters just because you were told about it or read about it in the media? How does that work?
Unfortunately, Chair, the entry into IDEC in terms of matters is very restricted. Yes, those matters that arise out of the 3 commissions, we are able to look into those matters. I would just like to clarify, Honourable Chair and members, that notwithstanding, we do divide up the work also with the DPCI, known as the Hawks, and what we do before we authorize new state capture investigations. We also check with them if perhaps they haven't already commenced investigations in matters that arise out of the State Capture Commission report and findings. Where they do and they have already commenced, we hand over then a matter that can go in there and falls within the ambit of that specific matter. So we do engage with the Hawks. In fact, there's a weekly meeting that the head of investigations in IDEC attends with the Hawks so that we are able to synergize new matters and where we are with old matters, and whether or not there might be something in either or agency that the other might need in terms of assistance. But when it comes to matters coming into IDEC, even corruption matters, they have to come in through a referral, which is a Section 27 referral in terms of the NPA Act. And the only other way it comes in is if they are referred to the ID and IDEC through the Office of the National Director in terms of Section 28 of the NPA Act. So had it not been for, do you have those dockets? Give them to us. This is corruption. We cannot do that, and we haven't done that. And we cannot also go to the Hawks and say, we want to do this, so give us yours. What does happen is, where the Hawks also have started a matter and they feel that it might be best placed to deal with it in IDEC, there is then that handover and or joint working process. But you cannot just go take a matter. We can't just take over a case, project, or docket.
Yeah, I think that explanation is important, and I'm sure will be expanded upon later. But the director of priority crimes, the Hawks, they deal with priority crimes. You deal with serious corruption cases, which would also indicate, or us as members of the public would expect to be dealt with as a priority crime. So you're saying the way you deal with it is you have a regular interaction with the Hawks.
That is correct, Chair, because the Hawks also have a mandate to deal with serious corruption matters. And so that there's no duplication or overlap. That weekly engagement seeks to ensure that that doesn't happen. But there's interagency working where we actually do share resources if they are needed. What IDEC is also able to do, Chair, is if there is a matter in our space, but there's a capability that also lies within the DPCI, we are able to designate those persons into an authorized IDEC investigation. So a DPCI investigator who's not seconded to IDEC can actually be allocated to a matter within IDEC through a designation process.
And we know now from the evidence and from the organizational design structure of the South African Police Services that there are also specialized units. And I think all of us now understand why these special purpose units have been established: murder and robbery, abduction, kidnappings, organized crime, mine killings in the mines, zamazamas, and a whole host of specialist task teams, which would also indicate priority and certainly serious crimes. So do you interact at all with those units? And of course, one of those units is the political killings task team unit or task team. Do you interact with those units, or do you act with the national commissioner and his deputies who are heading those units?
To clarify, Chair, in my earlier days as a prosecutor, yes, the specialized task team that I would have engaged with was what was called the SVC, Serious Violent Crime. They mostly dealt with the cash in transit matters, business robberies, and so on. So that was the one specialized unit most of us dealt with. And that would have been the case even throughout my time at head office as a national coordinator organized crime. We dealt with the various agencies that dealt with. So within the detectives, for example, as is with the Hawks, they also had specialized teams. They didn't call them task teams, but they had dedicated teams that would work with extortions, dealt with essential infrastructure theft, which was quite an issue. So we worked with teams that dealt with specialized matters. But the only specialized task team I did deal with was the serious violent crime unit at the time. When I became the head of IDEC and IDEC itself, we only engaged then in terms of law enforcement in the main with the DPCI, which is the Hawks, with the South African Revenue Services, the Financial Intelligence Center, and we also deal with Treasury when we need to have engagements with the Auditor General's office, but we haven't had to work with the PKTT because that has nothing to do with our mandate at all. So there's no engagements with them or the work that they do, Chair.
Okay. We'll come to the PKT a bit later. Um, just before we go any further, tell us about your office, the makeup of your office, how many people are employed in which sections, and perhaps also an idea of the demographics in that office.
During a break, I'll be able to perhaps just give the junior council something to print out. But as an overview, the staff contingent as of yesterday, which includes myself, are 128. And that includes the investigating director, the head of investigations, 2 chief criminal investigators, 4 chief financial investigators, 4 project managers. And then across the board, we have senior and junior financial investigators, criminal investigators, as well as data analysts, and then senior and junior advocates. So it's a total of 128, 63 female, 65 male.
And the demographic breakdown?
I'll be able to, during a break, I do have it on my laptop. I will look at it and I will revert with the exact numbers of the demographics.
Okay.
And I would assume, you'll correct me, Chair, you are asking about the racial demographics
Yes.
of the office. That's not an issue. I will present it. I do have it on my laptop. I will just want to give you the exact numbers.
And how are people, personnel in IDEC, how are they appointed? Who appoints them?
So, Chair, there's nothing unique about IDEC in terms of the recruitment process. Bear in mind that we are a business unit in the National Prosecuting Authority, which in itself is a program of the Department of Justice. So the recruitment policy in IDEC is the recruitment policy of government as we follow it through the Department of Justice. You would have to identify vacancies and positions to be filled. And these are then advertised. They are not advertised only internally, they are advertised externally. There's a screening process that gets done outside of my office. It is all corporate services that would do those. Persons are screened to see that they fulfilled the requirements, that they correctly filled in. We still do what they call the Z83 form as a form of employment in government. All of those are done. There's pre-screening, there's shortlisting. And in terms of the shortlisting, demographics play a role, both in terms of gender and color equity. Those are part of the equity principles of the NPA as well as the Department of Justice. So all of those factors are taken into account. A panel is pre-approved. We've got to send an approval for a panel. Also, it has to be constituted in terms of both race, gender, as well as qualifications. You cannot have, for example, myself chairing interviews for a data analyst. I might be out of my depth, but I could chair the interview for an advocate or a deputy director of public prosecutions or the criminal investigators. So we take all of that into account. Our panels are sent through to the NPA's head office, and depending on the level of appointment, some, if not most of those panels also have to be approved in the Office of the Director General of DOJ, as the Director General is the accounting officer of the NPA. And then those panels constitute themselves. Shortlisted candidates are then interviewed, go through a 2-pronged interview process, which has also become part of what government requires. Ordinarily, in these kinds of positions, you just had an interview with panelists asking questions, scoring candidates. But where we have, especially the criminal and financial investigators, as well as advocates, we have part 2 of the interview process, where they are either given case theories, scenarios, etc., and they have to then answer those. So there's a written portion and also a question that seeks to determine their level of ethics and integrity in the way they engage with the question. So it's not a different recruitment process. It is a recruitment process that's followed by the department.
Do you, from time to time, chair some of these panels?
Honorable Chair and members, yes, I have. I have chaired panels for deputy directors of public prosecutions. I have chaired the panel for chief criminal investigators, chief financial investigators. I think that's and could have been the head of investigations, but I think that is it. I might have assisted where, oh yes, I do recall, I think late last year, ordinarily when you do the positions for state advocate or senior state advocate, we usually have a deputy director of public prosecutions chair. The deputy director from my office who was assigned to chair fell ill, quite ill, and so in order not to interrupt that process, we sought permission, as we do, that I take over as chair, but it was for a prosecution position.
Now, your husband is also employed in IDEC?
No.
No, not at all.
My husband is at Crime Intelligence, and he's been there from 7 July 2009 when the DSO disbanded, and so many of the investigators, collectors, operational support were also moved. Many of them then were moved to either state security and or crime intelligence, and that is where he found himself by virtue of the allocation of personnel given the disbandment of the DSO. He was never at IDEC.
So my apologies. I was mistaken. I apologize. So your husband obviously knows and works under Lieutenant General Khumalo, who's the head of Crime Intelligence.
That is correct, Chair. If I remember correctly, Lieutenant General Khumalo became the divisional commissioner. It would have been late 2022, but my husband had been at Crime Intelligence from July 2009. But having to work under Lieutenant General Khumalo as the divisional commissioner would have been from around about December or so of 2022, whichever date the divisional commissioner became the divisional commissioner. But he had been at Crime Intelligence well before then. My husband, I mean.
Now, in the complex, serious work that you do as IDEC, you would require more often than not intelligence, which would be collected by Crime Intelligence, is it, and shared with you, or do you have your own Crime Intelligence section?
So, Chair, we do not utilize Crime Intelligence unless Crime Intelligence refers a crime threat analysis to us, which is part of the job that they do across the board for law enforcement. So if they had to compile a crime threat analysis that dealt with high-level corruption, organized corruption, and then in terms of the Section 27 referred it to IDEC, we would have looked at it. They hadn't done that to date, but we do not utilize intelligence, Chair. That's where the DSO got into trouble, thinking that intelligence is perhaps something we can do. IDEC will collect information that it can get, and we therefore use the subpoena process in terms of Section 28 that allows us to gather information that we would need to conduct our investigations. So it can be anything from the banks, cell phone service providers, from the revenue service, from the police, and from any person and or entity or agency that may hold the information that we require, and then we conduct our investigations. But there's no intelligence gathering at IDEC.
But when you issue the Section 28 subpoena, it could or may involve the provision of crime intelligence, which could be restricted or confidential. You would have sight of that. I mean, you, IDEC, not you personally necessarily.
So to be clear, Chair, we currently, if you talk of the intelligence field, IDEC has matters relating to state security, and those arise from the State Capture Commission. We have also had Section 27 referrals from state security. When we request information, we invariably first engage by way of letter or meetings. And when we need them for court-directed purposes, we do issue Section 28 subpoenas. So We are mindful in terms of those, Chair, for state security. We have a legal officer that they have identified that we do serve those on. Our letters, however, go directly to the acting DG or DGs, whoever they may be at the time. When we sought information from crime intelligence, the first time that we did seek such information was with regards the Section 27 referral from Mr. Adams, but that information we then subpoenaed the National Commissioner, given the sensitive nature of documents and information in crime intelligence.
Okay, so we'll also park that for the moment. So within or rather your husband's role within crime intelligence, there's some allegations, not confirmed by any concrete evidence, that you do or might share information which only he is privy to with you in your role as head of IDEC. What would your response be to such an allegation?
Absolutely not. And I know that for some, it might be, you got to be kidding, girl. It really is. I really hold my oath of office and integrity very important. In fact, when I was to take up the position as the head of IDEC, it became a reality that in terms of corruption matters, at that time when I took office, there were already corruption matters being investigated by the investigating directorate into criminal allegations, corruption allegations of SEPs. My husband was very mindful. We had a conversation about do what you need to do. That's always been how it has been. I don't need information from Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson doesn't have information to give. I wouldn't ask him for information. Pillow talk gets people killed. That's something we've never done. And that has just been it. And I know that, Honorable Chair and members, it might sound like such a glib answer. It's the true answer. If that is how you operate, you do not have to worry about a comeback. I am aware of the allegations. I think it's natural human nature for people to think that their 1 + 1 makes 2. Unfortunately, in this instance, it does not. We did not ask Mr. Johnson for any information. He didn't share any information. He won't share any information. And just to be clear, even as I sit here, if my husband is not at the crime intelligence head office, in all of the more than 20 years that I'm married to him, and in all the time that he's been at crime intelligence, I do not know where his office is. It's not my business. So it sounds simple. It is simple, and we've kept it simple.
Thank you. Just discuss just briefly your mandate.
So, Chair, we have set out the mandate.
Yeah, it's from paragraph 20 onwards. So
yes.
just summarize it.
But in summary, the mandate of IDEC, Honorable Chair and members, is as set out in Section 71A of the National.
Well, that's the voice of Advocate Andrea Johnson, who is the head of IDEC there, already beginning with giving evidence before parliamentarians. And it's really just starting out with her history, track record, and as you can hear, also venturing into the familial ties, given the fact that both her and her spouse are in the state security apparatus of the country. It's 11 o'clock now. We'll take the latest news update and then we're back to that ad hoc committee.
Thank you, Cathy. On the top stories, SAPS takes Operation Shanela to the streets of Kagiso and community kitchens on the verge of collapse in Sudan. For SAFM News, I'm Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. The South African Police Service has taken Operation Chanela 2 to the streets of Kagiso, west of Johannesburg this morning. The coordinated intelligence-driven campaign aims to curb and prevent violent crime in the country. Police say these efforts will continue ahead of and throughout the festive season as police intensify the fight against crime. Today's operation included several law enforcement agencies as well as officials from the Department of Home Affairs. Police say they will continue high visibility patrols, stop and go searches, compliance checks, and the tracing of wanted suspects in the coming months across the country. Acting Provincial Commissioner Major General Fred Gekana says they have recovered 2 hijacked vehicles in this morning's operation.
We have started this operation earlier on in the morning. Up to this far, we have arrested about 23 people, including the one that has been just arrested here at the roadblock for the stolen vehicle. The people that were arrested this morning are 16 undocumented people. We've got 3 illegal mining. We've got 2 possession of gold-bearing material. In the morning earlier, we've recovered 2 vehicles, one that was hijacked yesterday at Boschkop and the one at Protea Glen. And we are continuing with this operation. We hope that all the criminals will be brought to book.
Police have arrested 26 suspects in parts of Cape Town as they clamp down on gang activities. Spokesperson Amanda van Wyk says the arrests were made in areas including Menenberg, Elsis River, Kensington and Delft. She says the suspects face charges ranging from possession of unlicensed firearms and drugs to hijacking and discharging of firearms in public. Van Wyk says investigators are working to link the suspects and seized weapons linked to other serious crimes.
Majority of these suspects are known gang members and arrested for crimes that include possession of unlicensed firearm and ammunition, possession of a hijacked vehicle, theft out of a motor vehicle, discharging of a firearm in a municipal area, possession of and dealing in drugs. Amongst those arrested is a wanted individual who had escaped from local custody earlier last month. The team operationalized information which led them to the location of the escapee, resulting in his rearrest in Lentegeur. The suspect was initially arrested for a gang-related murder.
The ANC has won the by-elections that were held at the Govan-Beki local municipality yesterday. The ANC secured 43.78%, followed by the DA with 26.73%. Women and children's health must be placed at the center of government priorities. This is according to Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Motsoaledi was speaking to the media at the sidelines of their G20 Health Minister meeting in Polokwane, Limpopo. Motsoaledi says that by prioritizing women and children's health needs in the national budgets and policies, countries can address almost 60% of overall health challenges.
Governments around the world and together with other health people take care of women's issues, women and children's issues, because we think they are neglected. That where health space come together to be given information about women and children's issues, so that in their budgets, in their policies, in their discussions, they take care of women and health issues. If you do that in any country, take care of women and health, we will have taken care of about 60% of health.
A new report says Sudan's network of community kitchens is on the verge of collapse. The charity Islamic Relief Worldwide says neglect, shortages and volunteer exhaustion means most kitchens are facing closure. The BBC's Richard Gagowe has the details.
Community kitchens have been a lifeline for millions across Sudan. In El Fasher, recently captured by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, they were the only source of food for many families during an 18-month siege that cut off international aid. Islamic Relief warns that the collapse of this vital safety net would be catastrophic. A volunteer in Khartoum says 11 kitchens have shut this year, while others have severely cut portions, now serving 1 meal a day instead of 3. A UN-backed hunger report says famine conditions are now emerging in 2 more areas, including El Fasher and Kadugli in South Kordofan State, both cut off by conflict.
Recapping the top story, the SA Police Service has taken Operation Chanela 2 to the streets of Kagiso, west of Johannesburg this morning. The coordinated, intelligence-driven campaign aims to curb and prevent violent crime in the country. I'm Ondilambana for SFM News Headlines at 11:30.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your clientele legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This November, SAFM proudly presents the 3rd annual lecture.
And as the Freedom Charter says, no legitimate government could claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
SAFM invites you to our 3rd annual public lecture, delivered by Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser-Moleketi. The theme of the lecture is Confronting Inequality, Corruption and Unemployment, Rebuilding South Africa's Social Contract for Inclusive and Sustainable Growth. The lecture will take place on the 27th of November 2025 at the Indaba Hotel, Spa and Conference Center in Four Ways, Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at rsvp@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks exclusively on the Vodapay app. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
Ready to connect, innovate, and be inspired? It's all happening at Africa Tech Festival, where Africa's technology meets the world. From the 10th to the 13th of November in Cape Town, join global leaders, investors, and innovators driving the future of Africa's digital economy. Don't miss the continent's biggest week in tech. Get your pass now at africatechfestival.com.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
Extraordinary doesn't just happen, it's built brick by digital brick. Vodacom Business is helping shape South Africa's businesses from scalable cloud and AI that powers smarter decisions to IoT and connectivity that bridges every gap, backed by security you can trust. Together with business and government, Vodacom Business is building stronger industries and thriving communities, a nation ready to lead. Visit www.vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business, further together.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
This season, make Christmas magic together with Spar and Super Savings. Like 120-gram Lay's potato chips, buy any two for 38 Rand, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 1.8-liter Ola Rich and Creamy ice cream. Buy any two for 100 Rand, plus 250 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid 21 October to 9 November 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Streaming Skim Sum on the way to class.
Catching the Premier League while waiting for your order.
Jamming to Metro FM before you even get out of bed.
On SABC Plus, sinayo yonke into ifunayo. Your shows, your music, your way, anytime, anywhere. Zero subscription fees.
On your phone, tablet, or smart TV.
Download SABC Plus on iOS or Google Play Store.
Extraordinary is built on innovation, and Vodacom Business is leading the way. Cloud that scales with your business. Security that earns trust. AI for smarter, faster decisions. IoT that connects systems and people. And connectivity that bridges every gap. With these technologies working together, Vodacom Business is helping to build a better connected, future-ready South Africa. Visit vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business. Further together.
Hi, I'm Khomotso Cathy Mohlahlana, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mohlahlana. Because where words fail, music speaks.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
When she prepared this memorandum. So I could not be party of someone prepare food which I don't eat and just come and dish for me.
I take it then you never signed it. You never signed on page 46 or a copy similar to this.
That is correct, SC, Commissioner. Though I also submitted a memorandum in response to this letter she sent to me, which is on page 47.
Yes.
Where I've indicated there on that memorandum.
It's I apologize, Chief Mapie. It's a fairly short letter. At paragraph 26 of your statement.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Paul Biya has secured his 8th term in office. He's the world's oldest president. He's been declared the winner of the Cameroon presidential election.
I have told you, and I continue to tell you, this is a guy in Cameroon who has ruled it 93 years. He doesn't speak. He can't speak. He is completely out of his mind. He doesn't know where he is. All the leaders in Cameroon, the president of the Senate is 93. The president of the parliament is 89. Another one is 82. Another one is 91. Oh, the army general, the police commander is 93. Look, I am not against it.
Dr. David Matsanga, the International Relations and Conflict Resolution.
Ashraf Garda on SAF.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Terms of reference would be the complaints mechanism, how they report matters, who reports matters. The judge does not account to IDEC at all or the NPA, but accounts within the Department of Justice.
When and how would the judge's appointment have been made public and announced in the media?
I am unable to assist, Chair. I'm not aware of what the plans of the Department of Justice are to ensure that the public is aware, but it is a critical aspect that the public should be made aware of because that talks to accountability. People need to know where to go to if they have any complaints about IDAC or its staff and what the nature of those complaints and or the format should be for the reporting of complaints to the judge.
Would you be able to comment or not on whether senior members of police management or other law enforcement agencies, would they have been aware of his appointment?
I'm unable to comment, sir.
Can we just deal briefly with your experience in two of the more high-profile matters of former or the late General Jackie Selebi and Mr. Solly Lazarus, and their prosecution for corruption, just by way of short background.
Honorable Chair and members, I deal with it very broad strokes at paragraphs 25, 26 and 27 of the affidavit. And just based on our experience, mine included with criminal cases against the late Mr. Jackie Selebi, and it was also with Mr. Solly Lazarus with subs procurement and now with subs procurement matters in IDAC. It seems that when the police, and this is in general, not a specific unit, regardless of which component, invites bids for the procurement of services or goods, many people want to participate because they've come to know that the contracts can be very large, and we've seen that play itself out as well in public. They're lucrative. And in terms of the prosecution and investigation in the corruption matter involving the then Chief Financial Officer of Crime Intelligence, Mr. Lazarus, who currently serves a term of imprisonment, Lazarus demonstrated what I referred to above. And during this process, at the time we were in the DSO, it became very apparent, and this is not passage talk, it became apparent through the investigation that officials had learned that if Mr. Lazarus asked something, people were reluctant to say no because he was the CFO. If you wanted something, the CFO got it for you. So you didn't stand in the way of the CFO, and I'm talking about at the time. That specific CFO and others came up with several schemes to ensure gratification to and from parties relevant to the entire procurement and acquisition process. As an example, and one of the main charges against the then CFO, Mr. Lazarus, was they procured vehicles, covert vehicles, and vehicles for crime intelligence. Part of that was him ensuring that his kickback was getting vehicles, one of which he got for his daughter, for which he was charged, and one of which he got for his family members. So there wasn't procurement for procurement and procurement for services for its officials to be able to do the work. At that time, in that specific instance, there was always what can I get out of it? And those were the instances that we were able to actively pick up in relation to Mr. Lazarus.
Then, just to move on also briefly, because you've already touched on it to a large extent, the role of crime intelligence in the whole criminal justice system and how important that is.
So
that you deal with it at paragraphs 28 to 30.
Chair, we must make no mistake that crime intelligence is integral to the fight against crime. It is something that we've always worked with as prosecutors and investigators, especially in the work that I did in my portfolio of dealing with organized crime matters. The DPCI, when the DSO was disbanded, I would attend a lot of their project committee meetings. That is where they discuss which projects to take on, etc. A continued argument that we always had with the DPCI was, if you do not have a credible crime threat analysis from crime intelligence, it is really difficult for you to register projects. And we say that because crime intelligence is very good at coming up, especially for organized crime, with credible crime threat analysis. And this was at the time when we were dealing with organized crime, which I dealt with up until February of 2022. And so it is so that they play a very important role, Honorable Chair, that they provide for a system that allows for a very credible report of information, which is called a crime threat analysis. It informs law enforcement agencies across the board about possible groupings and syndicates, their criminal activities, the commodities that they may be trading in, and other relevant information. They also deal with transnational organized crime. And so a crime threat analysis from crime intelligence won't restrict itself just to the borders, but if there was something that we needed to know about these syndicates operating outside of our borders, they made that part of the crime threat analysis. I've said it helped investigators and prosecutors. And crime intelligence, without a doubt, is critical to the fight against crime, especially organized crime. I think the only challenge that was found, and that was only based on the Celebi matter that we did, the matter against Solly Lazarus, there was a matter against one Mr. Richard Mdluli, but I haven't dealt with that matter. As critical as their function is, the key challenge that was found during those investigations is accountability for the use of its funds. And unfortunately, secrecy characterizes the utilization of the funds and the procurement. And like I say, Honorable Chair, this was encountered since the time of the Celebi investigation, and we found that fast forward into the Lazarus and the Mdluli era. So I think out of all of this, one hopes that even with this committee, that one finds a balance between their mandate, how it's executed, protecting its COVID mandate, but still that there be accountability for its funding and funding mechanism. And the reason for that, Chair, is not because we need to know about their money. It helps ensure the accountability mechanism, and so that there's no abuse of funds within that system, whether it is for personal gain or otherwise.
Thank you. Can we just move to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi? Do you know him? How well do you know him?
I guess well is relative, but I've known him for a long time in terms of knowing of him. But in March of 2020, and for about a period of 3 months, I got to work every day with Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. It was during the period of COVID. He chaired what was called the National Core Command Group, which was a group of generals from the various police components. There were people from the Department of Health. I represented the NPA, etc. And what would happen there, Honorable Chair and members, is when regulations came out, we would have to sit together to see how they would be operationalized, the kind of standing order SAPS would send, and the kind of provisions we would have to send to the prosecutors for the prosecution and investigation of certain matters. So he chaired that meeting. We saw him every day. It was very seldom that General Mkhwanazi did not chair the meeting. It was the odd occasion. But he was there. Is very boots on the ground, committed individual. So I've worked with him in that environment. I came to know of him being the acting National Police Commissioner, but Honorable Chair and members, we didn't engage on that platform. And now in my time as in IDAC, we did engage with General Mkhwanazi. In my time as IDAC, when these investigations of the matters that were referred to IDAC by Mr. Adams, out of habit, what one does is when investigators go into a province and they are going to see police personnel, you will inform the police commissioner, provincial commissioner, as do prosecutors when they appear in a jurisdiction of a director of public prosecutions. So investigators would inform General Mkhwanazi that they were in his province, that they were seeing police officials as potential witnesses. They also, one of the investigators also engaged him, Honorable Chair and members, when we needed issues of clarity. And that is as far as the engagement goes. And the last engagement I had personally with Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi was during the month of June. He had called and I was away for work and unable to take the call. When I called back, he said, not urgent, we'll talk when you get back. I guess we both got busy. General then did speak to me on the 2nd of July. And on the 2nd of July, it is when the general indicated that he wanted me to talk to somebody about an issue. He sent me the details, but unfortunately, before I don't call anyone. I usually give it to the head of operations, Mr. Sissoko. But before I could do that, the 6th of July media expose by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi happened, and that was the ambit of our engagements. Our engagement stopped on the 2nd of July.
Now, he makes reference to one of your investigators, Mr. Brian Padiachi. Can you tell us a bit about that? Or let me just put to you two allegations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi in his affidavit. He says a further condition is that if the accused required anything related to their work, it could only be obtained through the intervention of the investigating officer. This is in relation to Lieutenant General Kumalo, Senior Investigator Brian Padiachi of IDAC. And then later on, he says, having regard to the sensitive nature of Lieutenant General Kumalo's role, a condition empowering Mr. Padiachi to have any access to crime intelligence information is unwarranted. It compromises state security. Lieutenant General Kumalo has applied for the bail conditions to be amended, but the hearing of this application to amend has been postponed on numerous occasions. So just in relation to, we're going to deal with Lieutenant General Kumalo's arrest and the charges against him. Yeah. You deal with it from paragraph 56 onwards, allegations against Mr. Brian Padiachi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members. To go back to the assertion that you made, Council, I am aware
Not that I make.
That General Mkhwanazi makes that you've put to me. The assertion being that Mr. Padiachi would have and be allowed to have access to CI and documents. It is, I think it's incorrectly interpreted. That condition dealt with, and mainly because we have witnesses at crime intelligence, and those witnesses had indicated that they had been intimidated and victimized. So the condition for them not going to CI was to ensure that the witnesses were not intimidated. Mr. Padiachi would not have been allowed, to be clear, to access any documents from crime intelligence. We would have had to follow. If after that, one identified that there were documents from crime intelligence that were required, Chair, we would have had to follow the process we had followed initially, which would have been to issue a Section 28 subpoena to the National Police Commissioner. No one would have been allowed to go to CI, engage any personnel, or take on any documents. And when it comes to Mr. Padiachi, it is Mr. Padiachi who, in fact, would call Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi to let him know that he was going to be in his province. It was him who engaged with the Lieutenant General mainly. They met, they would have talked. They had meetings, they had WhatsApp exchanges about Mr. Padiachi going down to KZN and what it is that he would require. And General Mkhwanazi was always willing to assist and or to facilitate. I'm not sure what might have gone wrong because I'm not aware of anything having gone wrong. But when the allegations are made, Honorable Chair and members, that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi cannot understand what Padiachi is doing at IDAC. I found Mr. Padiachi at the ID. He had come to the ID and had been sought after by my predecessor, Advocate Hermione Cronje, and he remained then at IDAC. He did undergo a detective course. He has conducted several investigations in his time in the South African Police Services. He wasn't only at crime intelligence. We do refer, Honorable Chair and members, from paragraphs 62.1 up to paragraph 62.3 of specific matters that Mr. Padiachi dealt with as an investigator within the South African Police Services in his time at the South African Police Services. So the assertion that he's got no investigating experience and no one knows what he's doing there is incorrect. He has the requisite qualifications, he's had the requisite experience, and he was at IDAC from sometime in 2021, me having taken office in March of 2022, and has conducted investigations as part of different teams that were doing investigations in IDAC.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, may I just request a short adjournment? There's some, you would have seen some activity, there's some documents that I wish to refer the witness to, and which is not part of Ms. Johnson's statement.
That
So
is,
that committee members.
that is granted, SC. We will come back at 11:45.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you.
All right, so just a short adjournment at the ad hoc committee, while of course they work on this documentation that has just arrived at the parliamentary quarters. For now, what we're going to do is that we will take a quick break, and then perhaps what we should do is maybe go to Madanga Commission and stay with it for the rest of the morning.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, you're listening to the Talking Point as we continue to lead conversations that move us. An interesting morning that we have had at the ad hoc committee as Advocate Andrea Johnson is giving evidence there in terms of the work that she does at IDEC. And we know that, that name has come up somewhat when it comes to the evidence that has been given before not only Parliament, but also at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Of course, that is the investigating directorate against corruption. There have been some allegations that there are members who are part of IDEC who have been linked to the controversies, who have been linked and have been part of these alleged syndicates that are protecting criminals within the security structures of the country. So they've taken a break there. And so what we will do now is that we will take you to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which is continuing its work this morning, and maybe quickly just to run through who has been giving evidence throughout the morning. We're hearing from Jabulani Isaac Mapiyeye, who is the Chief of Police of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. And he's being led by the Commission's evidence leader, Advocate Matlapi Sello, Senior Counsel.
Exercise of your powers and your
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. SAFM Music, good times, good memories.
I'm just like somebody inspired.
Old school, sounding so good. SAFM Music, with you wherever you go.
that JM6 starts at page 48. If you could turn to that annex.
In short, SC, I think early 2024, around about February, March, I think early 2024, around about February, March, there were positions which were advertised. To my dismay, I realized that a Deputy Chief of Police, Julius Mkwanazi, was running with the process of recruitment and promotion of municipal police members without my involvement.
Yes.
So I've picked this up, then I had to write to the HOD, Human Resource, to explain to her that they can't do what they are doing. I must be part of that process because I have to overall control Metropolis and avoid any other irregularities which might take place in the process of recruitment. So on high level, I think that's how this letter was worded.
Yes. And that is, in summary, the content of your letter at page 46, JM6. At page 46 of the big file. What you've just stated is a summary of the content of. Oh, apologies, 48. I'm corrected. I got my pages wrong. I do apologize. 48.
Thank you, Asi. 48,
I
yes.
apologize. Yes. You know, so I was saying what you've just stated now is a high-level summary of the content of the letter we are referencing at page 48.
That is correct, yes.
And that was your advice to the HOD?
That was correct. As
What was her response to this letter, if any?
she did not respond, but what I've observed, the processes of interviews in my department continued between herself and Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi.
Yes. Overleaf then, in your statement at page 10, you introduce a new subheading, Deputy Chief of Police Julius Dr. Mkhwanazi.
Okay, Silo, sorry to do this. Can
Yes,
we just
sir.
go back to this letter? I'm worried that we are leaving it without the necessary context.
Absolutely.
Chief Mapia was, is it Brigadier Mkhwanazi? Is his title Brigadier?
That is correct. Currently, he is now
You are saying he was running with the process of promotion and recruitment of officers. But who had authorized him to run with the process of promotion and recruitment of officers?
Thanks, Commissioner. With this memo, I've addressed to HOD, Human Resource, and CC, the city manager. I was trying to stop what I was seeing in the department between the HOD, Human Resource, and Julius Mkhwanazi. Because I cannot sit in my office and hear from a subordinate who will tell me that tomorrow I'm going to an interview. If I were just to expand on this, commissioners, the Metropolis comprises of just above 3,000 police members. Some of them have been in the system for more than 30, 40 years, being a police constable. Now, I remember this incident very well, where an officer who was a year old in the system saying to me, "Hey, sir, I'm going to the interviews tomorrow." I didn't frown or show the officer that I'm not so comfortable with that, because I believe that we need to reward some of our hard-working officers, because we've got a lot of officers who are really dedicated in the job. I'm not saying newly appointed officers must not be promoted, but experience also counts a lot. So it gives me this, I was so uncomfortable when I was seeing these things happening. Then I have to write to the HOD, Human Resource, that I want to be part and parcel of this process of recruitment.
But do you know who had authorized Mkhwanazi to initiate and continue with that process? Or can he do it at all? Let's just maybe ask the question differently. Can he do that?
Thanks, Commissioner. He must be assigned by myself. Whoever from my department, he must have been assigned by myself to work closer with Human Resource in order to facilitate these processes.
In this case, you say you had not assigned him.
That is correct. I did not assign him to be there.
Thank you, Advocate.
Thank you, Commissioner. And in fact, then that leads us well into your page 10, where you specifically then deal with the conduct of Brigadier Mkhwanazi in the context of what we're talking about, starting at paragraph 29 of your statement.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Commissioners. I think on page 10, paragraph number 29, Brigadier Mkhwanazi, with the support of the city manager, that is Dr. Imogen Mashazi, has over the years brazenly disregarded my authority as the Chief of Police of EMPD. Julius, as a Deputy Chief, was always appointed to act as a Chief of Police whenever I'm absent or on leave. Meanwhile, there were other senior Deputy Chief of Police who could have been considered to act. Julius was appointed on the 1st of December 2023. So he was still new to can resume even the processes of overseeing the running of the recruitment process in the department. During such acting appointments, he conducted recruitments, effected various promotions, and set up panels to conduct interviews of candidates.
Chief Mapia, can I just find out on that? Surely there's at the beginning of a period, say a financial year, or at some point at least, where the head of the department, you in this case, would have identified what positions you have that need to be filled. You would have identified what promotions and transfers and all of that. Does that happen in this case, in your department?
Thanks, Commissioner. Issues of recruitment or promotions, they happen as and when there are vacancies. And these specific ones, it happened where we had promotional positions during that time. It's not always that we will always find ourselves having promotions. But this specific one happens at times when I'm absent or I was on leave for a very short space of time. Julius will be running very quick with the issues of appointing panel members who will sit at those interviews. Ironically, in one of the panels, being the Chief of Police, he appointed me as well to go and sit in another panel, regardless that he was acting. But he appointed me. And when I will go and query to my principal, she will tell me that I have given Julius Mkhwanazi the roles and responsibility to take over the promotional positions. So which I wasn't okay with it. At some stage, I wrote even a letter explaining my dissatisfaction that I am the accounting officer of EMPD. So that's how things will at times happen.
To your knowledge, did the city manager appoint acting people across the departments? Is she the one that exercised that power, and not just to your department? Would she appoint in other departments as well?
That is correct, Commissioner. She does appoint HODs to act in their respective departments.
still live there for you at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Now we continue to hear from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Chief Jabulani Mabiyeye, who's giving evidence at the commission, already touching on those damning allegations.
From the 6th up to the 17th of May, this is what I've got on record for now. From the 6th.
And I think you've concluded
But
your
Julius being newly appointed in
comments
2023
about
December,
him. And
already during May, from the 6th up to the 17th of May, this is what I've got on record for now. From the 6th to the 17th of May, he was acting as the chief of police. So he will quickly run those processes and appointing me, whilst I have raised these challenges, that I did not want to see people being appointed whose positions were not even advertised. And this happened in this process, that people were appointed and that position was never advertised. So it's irregular to appoint someone to a position which was not advertised.
Chief, further to your response to Commissioner Baloyi, you deal with these appointments over that relatively short period, you say between May to July 2024, at paragraph 32, at page 10 of your statement. So in part response to your questions, you might want to deal with the contents of paragraph 32.
Thank you, SC. Thank you, commissioners. On paragraph 32, from the period May to July 2024, Mkhwanazi made 55 appointments or promotions without my involvement, which included directors, deputy directors, chief superintendents, and inspectors. I attach Mark JM7, a list of all those appointments. As I've said earlier on, that most of these candidates did not satisfy the requirements of the respective advertised post. In some instances, the post some were appointed to were never advertised. The appointments were in large part drawn from the members of the unit which Brigadier Mkhwanazi headed.
You reference Annexure JM7 at paragraph 32, and that appears in the big file at page 50. And at page 50 is a table of appointments you say were effected by Brigadier Mkhwanazi in the period May to July 2024. Is that correct?
That is correct, SC.
You wanted to clarify, insofar as JM7 is concerned, a little aspect for the commissioners. If you look at JM5, there is an entry in the first line of an appointment of a director. It's colored in green. It's the appointment of Director Dion Singh. Now, in the context of what you stated, paragraph 32, you wanted to clarify something to the commissioners, as you indicated to us. This is the opportunity to do so. At paragraph 32, you say JM7 is a list of 55 people who were appointed without or promoted without your involvement. Correct? That's what you state in your statement.
That is correct, SC.
Having stated that, you pointed out to us that when you have proper regard to JM7 at page 50, there's a clarification you would like to make in regard to the first name there, the first appointee, and that is Director Dion Singh. And I'm giving you the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, SC.
Thank you.
When I look at this page, on page 5,
Page 50 you meant.
Page 50.
Yes, sir.
MJ7. I will just pick up 2 to 3 irregularities which I could just from the onset pick up.
If I may, General, before you do so, perhaps the clarification you wanted to bring to the attention of the commissioners, were you involved in the appointment of Director Dion Singh, who appears first on that list?
That is correct, SC. I was involved in the appointment of a Director Singh.
So if that's what you state, then your paragraph 32 is correct, but to the exclusion of Director Singh, because you were involved. Recall you say this is a list of appointments made without your involvement.
That is correct, SC.
So what you are suggesting that you still stand by that statement, except you point out that that point does not apply to Director Singh because you were involved in his appointment.
That is correct, SC.
Having then clarified that you wanted to make a reference to about 2 other appointments on that list, you may do so.
I will go to page 50 and I look at candidate number 4.
Yes.
The positions which were advertised by that time, it could be a Director Operations and Specialized Services. But candidate number 4, you will see that that candidate, she is appointed as a Deputy Director Internal Affairs. On the structure I've shown earlier, unfortunately, we could not go down that structure. Each and every structure, there are 5 deputy chiefs. There are vacancies below those deputy chiefs. Now, they've advertised a position of a Deputy Director, Operations and Specialized Services. And then they take an employee number of a position which is with Internal Affairs and appoint that individual in the operational leg. So technically, if you wanted to fill in the position of a Director Internal Affairs, a Deputy Director Internal Affairs, you must advertise according to that job spec of that position of a Deputy Director Internal Affairs. But what happened here, they've advertised Deputy Director Operations and Specialized Services.
All right, so we've come to the end of our lot for the day on the talking point. We're going to come out of that Madlanga Commission of Inquiry where the Chief of Police at the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department has been giving evidence. Of course, we've also brought you some of the testimony coming from Advocate Andrea Johnson at the ad hoc committee. So that committee was on break, you'd recall, but they have resumed that particular hearing. You can expect to hear more of what's coming out of both sittings as the day continues right here on SAFM. For now, let's hand you over to the update at noon.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Well, thank you, Cathy. It's midday, Thursday, the 6th of November, 2025. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SAFM. Leading the conversation, I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour.
Do you have those dockets? Give them to us. This is corruption. We cannot do that, and we haven't done that. And we cannot also go to the Hawks and say, we want to do this, so give us yours.
The Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, that's IDAC boss Andrea Johnson, is on the stand at the ad hoc committee in Parliament. And of course, also you've listened to on Cathy's show to what is happening at the Madlanga Commission. And this is, of course, where the head of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department is appearing. But of course, we will take you to Parliament. But first, let us know what's on your mind. If you have a moment to share your thoughts with us, you can either write to us via SMS on 41391, via X on at SABC News _radio, or you can send us a voice note on 08269239909. Before we get back to Parliament, let's quickly bring you up to speed with the latest news. Here's Ondelambana.
Thank you, Sakina. On the top stories, Mashadila's VIP protection guards lose their court bid application, and IDEG head appears before Parliament's ad hoc committee. For SFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good day. The Randburg Magistrates Court has dismissed an application by Deputy President Paul Mashadila's former bodyguards to have the case against them dropped. All the 8 VIP protectors are out on a 10,000 rand bail. In July 2023, a video emerged depicting the accused assaulting occupants of a VW Polo on the N1 highway. Sasha Naidu reports.
The bid by the Deputy President's former protectors to have all the charges against them dropped was unsuccessful. In his judgment, Magistrate Abdul Khan ruled that the 8 VIP protection officers have a case to answer to, particularly in relation to the charges of assault, GBH, and malicious damage to property. He further went on to state that accused 5 to 8 will also still have to face the charge of pointing a firearm, whilst accused 2 and 7 will also face the charge of reckless and negligent driving. The case has been postponed to the 23rd of March next year. Sasha Naidu, SABC News at the Randburg Magistrates Court.
The head of Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, Advocate Andrea Johnson, says they do not deal with the work of the Political Killings Task Team. Johnson is testifying before the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the criminal justice system. Johnson says the Political Killings Task Team has nothing to do with them.
We worked with teams that dealt with specialized matters. But the only specialized task team I did deal with was the Serious Violent Crime Unit at the time. When I became the head of IDEC and IDEC itself, we only engaged in terms of law enforcement in the main with the DPCI, which is the Hawks, with the South African Revenue Services, the Financial Intelligence Center, and we also deal with Treasury when we need to. Have engagements with the Auditor General's office, but we haven't had to work with the PKTT because that has nothing to do with our mandate at all.
Meanwhile, the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Chief Jabulani Mabiyeye has taken to the stand at the Madlanga Commission. Testimony before the commission has revealed that Vusumuzi Cat Matlala's private vehicles were registered and fitted with blue lights from the EMPD. Mabiyeye has testified that the EMPD does not have the power to arrest any individual after a crime has been committed, but that responsibility falls within the mandate of the SAPS.
It is very important to make sure or verify if there is a case which was open at the SAPS against that individual. Thereafter, if there is a case or there is no case, we don't have the powers to go and arrest. And once also there's a case, it is now the responsibility of SAPS to start the process of investigation.
The SA Police Service has taken Operation Chanela 2 to the streets of Kagiso, west of Johannesburg this morning, Police say these efforts will continue ahead of and throughout the festive season as police intensify the fight against crime. Today's operation included several law enforcement agencies as well as officials from the Department of Home Affairs. Gauteng Acting Provincial Commissioner Major General Fred Gekana says they have recovered 2 hijacked vehicles in this morning's operation.
We have started this operation earlier on in the morning. Up to this far, we have arrested about 23 people, including the one that has been just arrested here at the roadblock for the stolen vehicle. The people that were arrested this morning are 16 undocumented people. We've got 3 illegal mining. We've got 2 possession of gold-bearing material. In the morning earlier, we've recovered 2 vehicles, one that was hijacked yesterday at Boschkop and the one at Protea Glen. And we are continuing with this operation. We hope that all the criminals will be brought to book.
The Philippines has declared a state of emergency after Typhoon Kalmaigi battered the country's central regions. At least 114 people have been killed, with an even larger number reported missing. The typhoon is the biggest tropical storm so far this year. The island of Cebu was particularly badly hit. The BBC's Jonathan Head has the latest.
Typhoon Kalmaigi dumped the equivalent of a month of rain on the island in just 24 hours. Sending torrents of mud and debris down mountainsides and into urban areas. Video taken by residents showed scenes similar to those from a tsunami, with cars and shipping containers being churned and pulled along by the current. Nearly 500,000 people were forced to stay in emergency evacuation centres. Many more found shelter on whatever high ground they could reach.
Recapping the top story, the Randburg Magistrates Court has dismissed an application by Deputy President Paul Mashadila's former bodyguards to have the case against them dropped. I am Ondelambana for SAFM News Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
Ready to connect, innovate, and be inspired? It's all happening at Africa's Tech Festival, where Africa's technology meets the world. From the 10th to the 13th of November in Cape Town, join global leaders, investors, and innovators driving the future of Africa's digital economy. Don't miss the continent's biggest week in tech. Get your pass now at africatechfestival.com.
It's flake or break in the Elimination Challenge on the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2. It's all about perfectly baked pastry and a deliciously savory filling as the bottom 6 bake their own pies from scratch. There's no time for half-baked measures as they fight for a spot in the next round. That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesday evenings at 7:30. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
I don't love waking up before the sunrise. I don't love wearing a school uniform. But I do love learning. I do love saving my mom money on transport and uniforms while I still get a good education. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 28 November.
EFC is live this Thursday. The legend Boyd Allen returns to mount a new campaign for the title that was once his.
This man has set the world on fire.
He faces a menacing warrior, Vince Bembe, who is eager to stamp his own passport to featherweight glory.
Bembe is on his way up.
EFC 129, live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
It's 9 minutes after 12. Thanks so much for being with us here on SAFM. Update at noon on now. And let's take you to Parliament. And this is, of course, where the ad hoc committee is sitting. And today, we're witness in the witness stand being led by Advocate Norman Arendts, SC, is Advocate Andrea Johnson. And she, of course, is the head of IDEC, the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption. And with that, let's take you to Parliament.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to find out the clarity. As you sit there, you just said that there's allegations against politicians, am I right? And as you see there today, you don't even know who those allegations against today. I'm talking about today.
Chair.
I am not saying we don't know against whom. It is irresponsible to be throwing names of persons who might be implicated when the investigation is not yet completed. And so the level of evidence against them might either result in us having to charge and prosecute, or it might be that they are mentioned, but there is no evidence. So the investigation continues.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Ngola, are you fine? Let's see, we may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Sorry, Advocate Johnson, we were talking about your role, if any, in any, from the time there's a referral through to an investigation and then a decision to prosecute, and perhaps the prosecution itself. Um, um, maybe you would become involved if it's Oscar Pistorius, but your role in these matters.
So, Honorable Chair and members, once the investigation and prosecution team have concluded the investigation and they have determined that charges can be brought and they have determined against whom, what we tend to do before they put together their charge sheet, or what we also do is we ask them to put together a draft charge sheet, and they would present that matter to myself, some of the other deputy directors of public prosecutions who are not involved in the matter, as well as the head of investigations and operations, Mr. Sissoko. They'll talk us through the matter so that we can engage and discuss if we see any loopholes, if there's suggestions we can make on things that must still happen. But it's a collective back and forth engagement. And once that is done, the team will decide who the lead prosecutor will be. They'll put together a charge sheet. They'll also put together what we call a prosecution memo. And that prosecution memo, Chair, gets sent to the Director of Public Prosecution, in whose area of jurisdiction the matter will appear. Because in terms of the NPA Act, the investigating director enrolls after consultation with the Director of Public Prosecutions of that specific jurisdiction. So we send through the prosecution memo, they apply their minds. DPP will usually send a letter to say they have gone through the matter, you may go ahead. And then we enroll the matter as other criminal matters do in the normal course of NPA matters, and they run through the court system.
So also just to be clear and understand, do you authorize the prosecution of a matter referred to IDEC, or is the decision to prosecute the matter with the DPP in a particular province, or does the DPP just enroll the matter for a criminal trial?
So the investigating director and all the prosecution staff in IDEC have a delegation and mandate to institute prosecutions for and on behalf of the state, similar to any of my counterparts in any of the other NPA offices and divisions. So it is not seeking permission to enroll the matter. It is to inform the DPP that we will enroll the matter in the area of his or her jurisdiction. However, what has happened is they can ask clarity from that prosecution memo. One or two have, we respond thereto, and then they indicate they are satisfied. But the institution of the prosecution happens by the lead prosecutor in the team. What the ID will do is, in going through the charge sheet, would approve that, yes, this is a charge sheet and that it can go to court. Honorable Chair, I think this hands.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. Advocate, I just want to be clear on this aspect. Does a referral only require you to prosecute? Do you not face instances where, for instance, a referral will come with evidence which is not complete, which requires you to do more investigation in order for you to establish prima facie evidence? Is it always the case that it requires you to prosecute? It comes with prima facie evidence.
Honorable Nomvalo, no. When the referral comes, investigation must get done. So an investigation must first be declared in IDEC, and then the investigation must be done. So even if we are given a referral with what others might consider substantial evidence, we have to declare an investigation. We have to check that that evidence is correct. We have to go back and talk to those witnesses. We take supplementary affidavits if we need to. We conduct further investigation, and only then do we prosecute. So a referral does not allow for an immediate prosecution. A referral allows for an investigation first. Even if we were given a docket, Honorable Nomvalo, we would have to first authorize in the IDEC space, and investigations must happen, albeit just to verify. We cannot just run into a prosecution.
I'm okay, Chair.
Let's proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I just, or we just needed some clarity, because you talk about the team, the investigating team, and now the prosecuting team. The matter is discussed. The matter is discussed. But what is discussed? Are you discussing whether there are prospects, or what the prospects are of a successful prosecution? Or do you discuss matter, or is it already determined or decided by the lead investigator, lead prosecutor, that we are going to prosecute, and now you come in as the head of IDEC to discuss various aspects of the prosecution where you may require further evidence, additional evidence, to strengthen the case or whatever? Just to understand your role in these matters.
There's no separate teams. A team will comprise of a deputy director who would lead the team, and there's chief and criminal investigators. There's a project manager who will manage. There can also be data analysts, and if we need external service providers are also designated to the matter. So at the stage it comes to the ID and others for presentation, it is for the team to present their evidence, what the allegations are, what evidence they have to support those allegations, any challenges they may have encountered, what it is they would require from the ID or the head of operations, or having given us that brief, evidence, charges, what supports it, what's the next steps, that they are now ready. They would like to have the matter enrolled, and then the administrative processes start. What they would need from the ID is to indicate, once they've provided a charge sheet and the prosecution memo, is that the ID approves that they can go ahead, but then we